welcome back to Well, That's Interesting, the God, That's Awful, I'm going to need to go doodle now edition. Today is episode 242, how a family of 4 tried to save themselves from Mount Vesuvius, and making art for 45 minutes a day can lower stress levels. My friends, before we bury ourselves in what is arguably one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in human history, I wanted to take a moment and wish us a happy birthday. Yes, can you believe 5 years ago this week, in the midst of another catastrophic natural disaster, COVID, I hit the record button and WTI was born. At the time, I had no idea what I was doing and had no idea if anyone would tune into a show that combined serious journalism and research with equal parts smut and extravagantly placed F-bombs. Well, here we are. At the time I'm writing these notes in mid-May, the flock has grown to a whopping 2,700 subscribers on Spotify alone, which would not have been reached if it wasn't for you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Those little things like tuning in week after week, checking out episode posts over at the old social medias, giving likes and leaving reviews and comments, and of course, telling the people closest to you, or even complete goddamn strangers, the seemingly impossible thing you just heard. And as with many parasites we've covered and will cover in the future, this show has entered through the ear holes of thousands. It embedded into a part of the brain and made itself cozy and has grown. Okay, that's probably a terrible analogy, but you know what I mean. You get it. That's why you're here. So, to celebrate this milestone, we need fireworks. And boy howdy, we've got them. The first half of the show is going to be cataclysmic, as it begins in 79 AD, when good old Mount Vesuvius released 100,000 times the thermal energy of the Hiroshima-Nagasaki bombings, leaving the cities and the people of Pompeii and Herculaneum utterly annihilated. Now, if you're a long-time listener of the show, then you may recall way the fuck back. In episode 209, researchers are using volcano bomb cannons to save lives, and these parasitic wasps are being used to save in English manner. We learned that insulating a roof with a mere 2 inches of ash could absorb the damage from falling rocks up to 20 pounds. Well, not even the innovative rooftop designs created by the volcanologists over at DEVORA, an acronym for Determining Volcanic Risk in Auckland, could have protected these souls from the speed and volume at which debris rained down on them. This eruption was a whole other beast. It began at noon on an August day, and shortly thereafter, Pompeii was covered in more than 9 feet or 3 meters of hot earth. And that was just the beginning. So, you don't even have to ask. We will be diving into the living hell that was this disaster. Even more so, we will weep at the power of the pyroclastic surges that formed. And we will join Pompeii Archaeological Park Director Gabriel Zuchtriegel and their team, I nailed that, as they uncovered a tragic moment frozen in time. With them, we'll be traveling to what's been dubbed the House of El in Frizzo, a breathtaking home that once belonged to a really small family. There, we will enviously gawk at the interior design of this place, and we will learn why it was named as such. Not to give anything away here, but if walls could talk, they do in a way in this case, thanks to a fresco based on an unfortunate myth inside the house. And this leads us to a real-life tragedy. With what physical evidence the team has gathered, we will reveal how the family attempted to survive the eruption in what little time was had. There's an eerie parallel to the fresco that will stick with you. Then after the break, after all that horrible shit, we're going to need some relief. And it turns out, it's easier than you think. Garaja Kaimal, assistant professor of creative art therapies, recently performed a simple experiment with 39 participants whose ages ranged as diversely as their artistic abilities. Saliva samples were taken before and after the group was given a short window to draw or sculpt, and what was discovered from that spit? Well, Garaja said it best. Quote, "It was surprising, and it also wasn't. End quote. We will get into the wet details of this study. We will learn about cortisol and our friends, the adrenal glands. We will learn how many organs and glands and chemicals it takes for you to make a split-second decision in a stressful event, and how spending a little more than half an hour doing something creative can make your day all the better. That is my birthday gift to you. In the meantime, hi, I'm Jill Chacha, and if this is your first time listening, welcome to the flock, my expressive business goose. To begin, I'm going to ask you to sit back, relax, and to listen to something horrendous. Our story unfolds on a gorgeous day, one of those days right before fall sets in, August 29th, moments before 12 p.m. As to where we are, please also imagine the foot of Italy. Perfect, thank you. Slip on a high top and point to the upper left corner of the shoe. There is Naples. And if you take that finger and move it south a mere 15 miles, we'll find ourselves in the poppin' city of Pompeii. Although we're nearly 2,000 years into the past, everyday life here in 79 AD bears a few shocking similarities to our own modern city lives right now. According to BBC History magazine, there were about 200 cafes and bars altogether, which means there was about one for every 60 residents. In each, a counter ran along the street to catch pedestrians, all while, quote, selling cheap takeaway from large jars. Wine was stacked up behind it, and there were tables in the back room for sit-down eating and drinking, end quote. The hustle, it didn't stop there. Dozens of craftsmen and professionals called Pompeii home, like carpenters, actors, surveyors, gem workers, architects, innkeepers, perfume sellers, laundrymen. The site goes on to say there was even a, quote, public pig keeper by the name of Nigella, end quote. Sounds like Nigella really cornered the market, even 2,000 years later. Good for her. Anyway, frescoes. Frescoes adorned the homes of the rich or the well-off, of course, and walls were brightened by the most delightful pastels. And please, put a pin in this, because painters and artists making a killing here will make a heartbreaking return. Life here had its struggles as well. Over half of Pompeii's children died by the age of 10 thanks to infectious diseases. And the population was very much divided by class. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Quote, life was comfortable for the wealthy, living in large, albeit often dark houses with gardens and shady colonnades or rows of columns supporting a roof. For the enslaved, or the poor, things were bleak. They lived in cramped service quarters or in single rooms above their shop or workshop, with not much more space than a family would need to sleep. Hence, in part, the attraction of cafes and bars, which had room to stretch out. End quote from BBC History magazine. So, here we are, watching the working class rush off to their day jobs and the less fortunate pounding back wine and takeaway, which sounds great to me. It feels like any other day. And it all came to an end at 1 p.m. when nearby Mount Vesuvius released its first eruption. According to Ye Olde Wiki, this was a column of ash between 49,000 and 98,000 feet high. And if that sounds insanely tall to you, you are absolutely right. This column was basically supercharged thanks to trapped steam created by seawater seeping into the volcano over time through deep faults, and it interacted with magma. Today, that steam broke loose, with magma, ash, and superheated rock following suit. This enormous cloud quickly began to break down under its own weight, which means what went up must now come down. According to a November 2024 study called the 79 AD Vesuvius Eruption Revisited, the Pyroclastic Density Currents, 17. I'll say that again. 17 pyroclastic flows hit the area within 32 hours. And let's get into what the fuck that means. Remember when I said the initial eruption began thanks to steam, water, and magma plowing through? Well, this is called a phreatomagmatic explosion. And the interaction of all of that stuff in the sky creates a type of volcanic glass called pumice. These shards hit the city first, and they came with a speed I wish upon no one. This initial layer was 56 inches deep within a few hours. And according to a 2007 study, as it fell, it heated the roof tiles. It heated these homes up to 140 degrees Celsius or 284 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you could find your way out under this hot, sharp hell, this period of time would have been the last opportunity to escape, because now the rest of the initial column followed. This came in what's called deadly pyroclastic density currents, or pyroclastic flows, which is a gas and the innards of our Earth just hurling at you at unimaginable speed and heat. I'm talking about gases and debris rolling through the city at 300 degrees Celsius or 572 degrees Fahrenheit. There is absolutely no chance of surviving these temperatures, even inside a building. According to Benjamin Taub of IFL Science, throughout the first evening and into the following morning, 11 of these pyroclastic flows occurred at intervals of roughly 80 minutes. So just about one every hour, one wave after the other. But don't worry. It gets worse. Around 1 a.m., 12 hours later, the volcanic plume reached a maximum height of 34 kilometers or 21 goddamn miles, extending all the way up into the stratosphere. And it continued to pour down. Overall, Vesuvius had dumped a whopping 6.4 cubic kilometers or 1.5 cubic miles of volcanic material on Pompeii. By 6 a.m. the next day, a 21-mile column finally collapsed, sending pyroclastic flows through the countryside around Vesuvius, spreading out over an area of 25 square kilometers or about 10 square miles. The eruption finally came to an end at 8:05 p.m., quote, leaving behind a trail of devastation that continues to evoke deep concern as unfolding events continue to reveal the extent of the aftermath, end quote, wrote the November 2024 study authors. Well, fuck. Holy shit, put a pin in unfolding events, because we're going to get to that shortly as well. In the meantime, here are some non-destructive fun facts about the 79 AD eruption. The only surviving eyewitness account of these events consists of 2 letters by Pliny the Younger, which means, yes, there was a Pliny the Elder, and the Elder was not only Younger's uncle, but a well-respected naturalist and naval commander with a heart of gold. According to one of the Younger's letters, when Elder saw the initial plume from across the Bay of Naples about 22 miles away, he launched a rescue fleet, with the Younger responding with, "Nah, I'm good, I'm just going to stay here and write about it." Although some would say that reaction is cowardly, some others would say that was a smart move, as the Elder's body was found 16 miles before the plume, completely unscathed. So it's likely he died of a heart attack or a stroke. Okay, that wasn't really a fun fact, but get this. Until the 16th century, all we had was this tale of destruction. This one attempt at a rescue, but no city, no bodies, no evidence. My friends, according to Britannica, the ruins at Pompeii were only first discovered late in the 1500s by an architect named Domenico Fontana. And excavations didn't begin until 1748, 200 years later. Archaeologists are still slowly digging out Pompeii as we speak. And if you're curious as to why this is, and why it's so painfully time-consuming, well, in some areas, the debris is as deep as 20 feet, and you may not know exactly what's underneath. When it comes to excavations, slow and steady wins the race. And a perfect example of this is the House of El and Frizzo. So please, join me, back in Pompeii, now in the 1800s, when archaeologists began to exhume the past. Now, I can't even imagine how in over their heads they must have felt. Not only as they dig are they uncovering the walls and foundations of fragile 2,000-year-old buildings, but they're finding bodies. Like, a lot of them. In one particular home, 4 bodies were found, and they were handled by researchers at the time. But their studies could only go so far, as the structure itself, the whole house, was just too unstable to proceed. This partially buried home and its disturbed bodies lay frozen until the 2020s. And you need to see it to believe it. It's time to unpin that pin about recent events. Please, drop whatever remains you're holding and pick up your phone. Head on over to today's post on the old socials, and you're going to see a photo of one of the inhabitants, and then a photo of a breathtaking room. I'll give you a sec. Right? It's simply lovely. The color scheme creates a truly welcoming environment between the calming yellow and the light shade of red. And if you look closely, behind the walls, you're going to see a metal scaffolding which has finally given researchers the safety and support they need. And you're going to see a very small painting. This room is the banquet room, and in it is the depiction of a Greek myth, the story of El and Frizzo. Hence why the house was named the House of El and Frizzo. We will get into that myth in a moment. In the meantime, let's talk about the other rooms in this house, which include the entrance, a central hall with a water-collecting basin, a room with an open roof designed to collect rainwater, and a bedroom. My friends, it was in this bedroom that archaeologists uncovered the heart-wrenching details of the family's desperate attempt to survive. A family of 4, one of which was a small boy. And we know this thanks to a recovered bronze amulet known as a bulla, which was typically worn by Roman boys until they reached adulthood. As reported by Ben Taub of IFL, quote, "Within the layer of ash that filled the room, researchers discovered the imprint of a bed that had apparently been pushed against the door in order to prevent it from opening." Documenting the discovery, the authors of the new study describe how they created a cast of the bed by pouring plaster into these hollows, thus gaining new insights into the awful series of events leading up to the victim's annihilation. End quote. Well, yeah, you heard that right. The family opted to remain inside the house, using the bed and the door as a barricade in an attempt to seal off the room. It's believed, in a terrible twist of irony, that the room with the open roof designed to collect life-giving rainwater allowed choking ash and pumice to enter. And in desperation, the family fled to the bedroom, perhaps to wait out the eruption. Unbeknownst to them, the worst was about to come. This is damn tragic in itself, but that fresco of El and Frizzo just adds another layer. Long Greek story short, Frizzo and El were siblings, and they were hated by their stepmother, Ino. Ino came up with a plot to get rid of them, which was so fucking extra, it included secretly burning their country's crops to the ground. Now, because of this, God-fearing local farmers fled to a nearby oracle for guidance. Ino then bribed those farmers, telling them they better lie about how to solve this famine, or else. And that lie included telling the community that the oracle required the sacrifice of Frizzo and El. I know, it's a lot. Now, before they could be unalived, Frizzo and El were rescued by a flying ram with golden wool, as was the Uber at the time, and it was ordered by Nephili, their OG mother. I know, well, there's more. According to the wiki, during their flight, El, for some unknown reason, fell off the ram, and she drowned in the strait between Europe and Asia. And it was named after her. That fresco depicts her hopeless attempt of reaching out to her brother. Now, why the ram didn't pull over, we'll never know. But that desperate attempt is eerily similar to this family's hope. After the break? Yeah. Speaking of painting and all artistic endeavors, a new study reveals how doing something creative, just a few moments a day, helps relieve stress. And I think it's time for something chill. Our 5-year bonanza continues, so please, stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by Starbucks. Smooth, bright, deliciously crafted. Introducing Starbucks Sincera Blend, their smoothest, brightest coffee yet. It's a new kind of light roast, one that's packed with so much flavor, it shines no matter how you brew it. So go ahead and try it hot, iced, black, or with a splash of creamer. Visit athome.starbucks.com/Sincera-blend-coffee to bring Starbucks Sincera Blend home.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
And we're back. We are so back. And my friends, did you know that your kidneys are each wearing a tiny triangular hat? Of course, what I'm talking about are the adrenal glands. And yes, they are small and located atop each of your 2 kidneys. And like so many parts of our body, from cerebrospinal fluid to the smallest sections of the brain, these glands multitask. And they even produce hormones that multitask just the same, which explains why we're always so goddamn tired. Let's learn about the 2 little fellas that help regulate several super important bodily functions, including your fucking metabolism, immune system, and what we'll be focusing on today, stress responses. From waking in the morning to times of absolute crisis, the adrenal glands release hormones that help you navigate all types of situations, from casual to life-threatening. For example, these triangular bits pump out adrenaline and noradrenaline, aka the good old fight or flight hormones. According to clevelandclinic.org, to help you fight or to take flight, both of these are capable of increasing your heart rate and the force of heart contractions, which in itself controls the blood flow to your muscles and brain and affects glucose metabolism. So you're going to get a bump of energy basically when you really need it. They also control the constriction of your blood vessels, which helps maintain blood pressure. And all of this is a lot. But wait until you hear about this next hormone. Side by side with adrenaline and noradrenaline is another beast called cortisol. Like the other 2, it controls your body's use of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, and regulates your blood pressure, but it goes above and beyond by also suppressing inflammation, by reducing swelling and pain, increasing blood sugar use, and assists in controlling your sleep-wake cycle by peaking in the morning and declining in the evening. So, cortisol is with you nearly every moment of the day. And for it to be the helpful creep that it is, a domino effect has to go through your body first before it's even released. And it all starts with some external bullshit stressor being received by the eyes or the ears. And this information that needs your attention ASAP has just entered your brain and shot directly into your hypothalamus. This part of the body responds with, fuck off, not today, Satan, and alerts the nearby pituitary gland, who, waking up, reads this incoming memo from the hypothalamus and knows exactly who can take care of this external bullshit stressor: the adrenal glands. The pituitary gland actually sends out an SOS in the form of ACTH, a message hormone that stimulates the adrenal glands to produce cortisol. All of this happens in seconds. And all of this is leading up to the study we're about to take in ourselves. So join me, will you, at Drexel's College of Nursing and Health Professionals, where researchers asked a simple question. Can a mere 45 minutes of producing art reduce levels of cortisol in the body? Can this actually reduce stress? And if so, can we get the physical evidence to prove it? Those researchers included Gurija Kaimal, assistant professor of creative art therapies, Kendra Ray, a doctoral student under Kaimal, and Juan Muniz, PhD, and an assistant teaching professor in the Department of Nutrition Sciences. With this simple question, a simple experiment was created. 39 adult volunteers, ranging from 18 to 59 years old, were invited to participate in 45 minutes of creativity by either choosing markers and paper, modeling clay, or collage material. They could use any and all supplies in any way they wanted, as no direction was given. Now this part was key. According to Drexel.edu, of those who took part in the study, just under half reported that they had limited experience in making art. And please, put a pin in that. And I have to say, after you take a look at their creations, you'll agree they were really honest about that. No, I'm not judging at all. In fact, I'm really digging their outsider art. So please drop whatever form of expression you're holding right now and pick up your phone. Head on over to today's post and slide past those photos of the depressing fresco, and you shall see 3 works of art that I assume were chosen to be the best representations. They were attached to the press release. I'll give you a sec. Okay. Up first, we have a multimedia piece, including a clay rainbow on paper with with very special additions. My interpretation of this piece is that this is a rainbow, and it's a rainbow that's relieving itself. And that relief is in the form of other rainbows. And those are drawn with markers. There's a message in here somewhere. I love it. Next, we have what I think is a shot at recreating Westminster Abbey using clay. And you know what? It's a great fucking job. There's a clock tower, and it's a little limp, but the royals are having a rough go of it lately, and I can see that in this. It really comes through. And finally, the piece de résistance, a collage work that includes a straightforward light bulb with the words, "What's the big idea?" inside it. But after that, it's kind of wild. There's a clay alien octopus next to it, whose outstretched arms are each holding a positive word like love, dream, and remix. Okay, and from what I can only assume is some kind of orifice, spews forth some kind of acid trip of shapes and colors. It is inspirational. Okay, now back to the study, which included taking saliva samples of the volunteers both before and after the 45 minutes of creativity. After analyzing the spit for levels of cortisol, what did the team find? Drumroll, please. Thank you in the back. From Frank Otto of Drexel.edu, quote, "The researchers found that 75% of the participants' cortisol levels lowered during their 45 minutes of making art. And while there was some variation in how much cortisol levels lowered, there was no correlation between past art experiences and lower levels." End quote. So, my equally talented business goose, that means no matter what skill level the volunteers had, it made no difference. Stress levels were reduced. This physical evidence was further backed by written testimonies of their experiences, with one participant stating, quote, "It was very relaxing. After about 5 minutes, I felt less anxious. I was able to obsess less about the things that I had not done or needed to get done. Doing art allowed me to put things into perspective." End quote. Now, if these results sound not so surprising, you're not alone. Girija felt the same, with a small exception. Quote, "It was surprising, and it also wasn't. It wasn't surprising because that's the core idea in art therapy. Everyone is creative and can be expressive in the visual arts when working in a supportive setting. That said, I did expect that perhaps the effects would be stronger for those with prior experience." End quote, she said to Frank Otto of Drexel.edu. So, my friends, you have no excuse. Creating something, no matter how well you think you're good at it or lack thereof, it helps your body and mind. But I can see your face. You're thinking, that's great to know. That's really great, but I'm curious about that remaining 25%. What was up with them? Thank you. I can see you're still on high alert. Well, there's an explanation for that which can be traced to how multidimensional cortisol really is. Roughly 25% of the participants actually registered higher levels. Quote, "Though that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Some amount of cortisol is essential for functioning." End quote, Girija explained to Drexel.edu. Quote, continuing the quote, "For example, our cortisol levels vary throughout the day. Levels are highest in the morning because that gives us energy to boost us up and to get started. It could have been that the art making resulted in a state of arousal and or engagement in the study's participants. End quote. So, it's possible. Because this was a new experience with new materials, their bodies were more active and responding to the excitement. My birthday gift to you is taking some time to create a drug-riddled octopus with a serious case of violent diarrhea of your own. It'll help. And thank you for listening, rating, subscribing. All of this for 5 years. Y'all, this is like a relationship. Tell your friends about the really depressing story of the family of 4 that tried to save themselves from Mount Vesuvius. Tell them how fucking devastating it is, and then, slip them a piece of paper and a pen. And it'll make it all better. And a colorful thanks to the folks at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you love the other podcasts in this family, and thank you. This has been a wonderful ride. We're still going. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And please, stay interesting.